about y'all. Come on in and let's have us another visit here on the Humbl Show. I am Grant Fletcher, and I'm being joined by my co-hosts, Moonbeam Hallows and Brandon Cox. Hello, my people. How are y'all?
Hey,
I'm going to cut to Brandon here real quick. Uncle Bob decided to join us right before we hit record.
He's right there.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence there, Bob. I see the face. He made a little snarl at us. Look at him go.
Oh, he's a
just
good boy.
living his best life right there. How are we, everybody?
Tired, but you know what? It's we always record on Thursdays, so if you're tired on Thursday, that just means that you have to pull out one more day.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
just one more day.
Yeah.
And unless
you get 2 days, and then you do it again.
Unless you're Moonbeam, in which you get 1 day off if there's a hurricane, maybe.
Here's the thing. Look, people that brag about how busy they are.
Yeah.
That's not a flex.
It's not. No, like people there's something to be said about working smarter, not harder. But then there's also something to be said for like. I feel like the people who are most vocal about work this job and I come home and I'm sore, angry, like it's like they really they don't really have much of any right to be that way.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I love what I do. I'm still at work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave as soon as this is over.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I love what I do. But I don't get no breaks right now. But you gotta hustle that shit.
Yeah.
That's what they say. You gotta hustle. And that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Just gonna hustle it till I get a break. And then I'll tell you guys about my wonderful break.
Yeah. Hustle until you buy a boat.
That's right. I'm gonna buy a yacht for my pond.
I know that. Don't do it. Don't get a boat. You know what a boat is?
What?
A boat is a hole in the water that you pour money into. That's what a boat is.
Yeah, well, I feel like if you just get like a fishing boat with a trolling motor, I feel like that would work out.
Okay.
Here's the thing. What I'll do is I've got a boat with a trolling motor. So what I could do is I could just repair the hole that's in that boat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. You can use Flex Seal for that. I've seen the commercial.
What?
I said you can use Flex Seal for that. I've seen the commercial.
Yeah. I heard it was real.
It's got to be real. I saw it happen on TV.
That's right.
Y'all, I have a question for y'all.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's a question I ask you every week. What is your song recommendation?
Who wants to go first?
You do, Brandon.
Yeah?
Yes.
You do.
You usually do.
Pull it right out of your butthole because you didn't have one prepared, do you?
So I do have one. I only have one prepared, mostly because I feel like it's a really interesting band that no one ever really talks about for good reason. But at the same time, I feel like their story is really interesting. My recommendation this week is The Laws. There She Goes. Most people know the Sixpence None the Richer version. This one's better. This one, it's the original. It's way better. But I guess reading further into the band really kind of like shatters the universal image of just like the tortured artist, I guess, because if you read into this band, The Laws, on a very entry level, like if you read their Wikipedia page, like you read and it's like, the main guy, after they recorded their one album, he became disillusioned with the music industry and he kind of like, sequestered himself and, raised a kid and got out of music altogether. And it's just like this kind of romantic, like, it's this guy who couldn't make it in the business, but he had this one album, it's wonderful. That is not what happened. And I did a little thing called read further into it, which translates to I watched a YouTube video on this guy.
Okay.
This guy was a bit of an a-hole, a bit of an immature a-hole. So what this guy would do is like, so they were discovered in, I think, like 85 or 86, and they had like a set, a 35-minute album already, like as far as like a set list of songs. They recorded it once and he's like, no, I don't like it. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't have the right feeling. So like they got this really rare, like late 60s mixing board that I think they used at like Abbey Road. And they're like, all right, well, we're going to record on this. And so they did. It sounded fantastic. But then two of the members went on holiday together and they didn't invite him. And so whenever they got back, he's like, I don't like the record anymore. It sounds like doo-doo poo-poo. And so the label, which by the way, near the end, they shelled out £1 million for this band. So finally, third time, like, all right, we're going to re-record it again. And he goes into it and he's like, you know what? I'm going to make it sound real, real bad. So we have to record again. Just a real... God, I like the end result is so good. There She Goes is a pop rock masterpiece, I think. But like you look into it like surface level, and people are like, oh, this guy was just a genius who didn't make it. He was a big baby. He was a big, stupid doo-doo diaper baby, and I'm glad that he does not have a career.
You know what? Good.
Lord.
Good for him for not having a career anymore.
Seriously.
F that guy.
Oh man. Moonbeam, did you come up with anything? Do you have anything good?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
Frontier Psychiatrist by the Avalanches.
That's a great song.
Killer.
It's a good one.
That's on my trivia playlist. It comes up probably like once a month as I'm hosting trivia.
It comes up about once a month on my Grindhouse
Mega Mix.
Comes up about once a month, maybe once a week.
Also, the music video for that song is pretty good too.
Yeah.
If you've never seen it.
And I was like, that's a good.
Yeah, if you're in a place like after watching this where you can, if you're watching us on YouTube, look for Frontier Psychology, the music video. Experience it that way. If not, just listen to it because it's a great song by itself. But yeah, that's a really good song. That's a good pick. I like that.
And while you're at it, watch the "There She Goes" music video because it's real silly. Because he's a little British lad who opens his mouth way too wide whenever he's singing.
Also, while you're at it, go ahead and watch the video for Imitation of Life one more time, too.
Oh, yes.
We're going to recommend that one more time. We're putting it back in the queue.
Look, There She Goes was on the So I Married an Axe Murderer soundtrack.
Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah.
I would not have ever remembered that. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Whenever I was looking up the Law's discography, which, let me repeat, one album. Which, by the way, I did not mention that they basically had the same set list from like 85 to 90. And like they went through like 20 members. And like one of the mainstay members is like, hey, we've been playing the same music for 5 years. I'm gone. See you.
Yeah. I can see where you get, tired of it. Like, hey, we're not really just supposed to be a casino act or whatever. Yeah, I get it. All right. Well, I've got one here. So last weekend, I finally got around to seeing Beetlejuice.
Yeah, how was it?
Yeah, you know what? I really liked it. I liked it more than I thought I would. I didn't think I was going to hate it, but I didn't think I was going to love it. But I liked it more than I thought I would. It was just fun. You know what I mean? Like they just tried to make a fun movie, which was good. Is it a cash grab? Yes, it is. But at least they give you something in return for your money, rather than just rinsing out the old plot and handing it back to you.
Yeah.
But towards the beginning of the movie, I'm not going to say a lot about it, but there's this really fun sequence that happens. And I'm going out of the box here with this from what I normally do, but to the tune of a song called Tragedy by the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there listening to it, and it's a really good sequence. It's a really fun sequence. But I'm sitting there like watching this. I was like, man, this song is really good. This is actually really good. Like I know like heard it before somewhere, but never really, I guess, paid too much attention to it because I'm like, that's the Bee Gees. Why would I care?
Yeah.
They got the "Staying Alive" song, and that's really about it. But I was like, man, this song is awesome, and it might have just been because of the fact that like I had all the visuals, and I was in a PLF theater with like really good surround sound. But I've been listening to it in the car. It doesn't sound like it did in the theater, but it's still a good tune. So I'm gonna recommend "Tragedy" by Bee Gees.
So I'm not much of a big Bee Gees aficionado, but I think a lot of people don't realize that like they had a career before the disco hits. Then they had a much different career. They were like a very like Beatles inspired like Baroque pop, kind of like psych pop, progressive pop sort of act.
What was their original name? Oh man, that's gonna drive me crazy
I'm not
now.
sure. Like I know that, because I know that they were making music like back in their early '60s, maybe even the late '50s.
It was just Barry, Maurice, and Andy.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe they were just kind of.
I think that did they have like a band name or?
No, I think they called themselves the Bee Gees because it was all of them. All the original members had the initials BG at the time, like so it was the BG. Apostrophe S.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now.
Anyway. I don't know. I just know it's Gibbs, right? That's their names. Gibbs, Barry.
Well, yeah,
Gibb.
Barry Gibb. Yeah, the singer.
Is it Gibb or Gibbs?
I think it's Gibbs singular, but I'm looking at it right now. I would have said Gibb. I would have sworn Gibbs if I didn't know that. Gibbs. But anyway, yeah. So or maybe I'm thinking of the Beach Boys had a.
You're not.
A different.
I don't know. You know that Ronnie James Dio was in a barbershop quartet.
I did know that. Yeah, he was in a barbershop quartet. That's true. Yeah, well before. And then he was in a band called Elf. And then he was in Rainbow. And tell you what, come back next week and I will recommend a Rainbow song for you from
Go for it.
With Ronnie James Dio on vocals, because that band is still around technically, I think, and they've had about 24 different singers. So yeah, the Beach Boys were originally called the Pendletones. That's what I was thinking of. Anyway, not the same band though.
One more quick little music thing since we're on the subject, and I'll stop here. Lemmy has, I think, one of the most perfect, like his like discography and like what he's done like went perfectly, like it's a perfect slope from like soft to like heavy metal. Like he went from like being in like a Northern Soul act to like a garage rock sort of act to like a psychedelic pop act, and then to a space rock act, which was Hawkwind, and which they were already pretty heavy, and then he did Motorhead, which was heavy metal, and it like went very like he had a very like Dio-esque rise to prominence,
and he worked on a lot of things too that he wasn't really front and center on. He co-wrote the No More Tears album with Ozzy Osbourne. So
really, that I did not know.
I didn't know that either.
I know that he was really big friends with the Damned and played with them live. Like he played bass with them live.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like Lemmy pops up in a lot of interesting places.
Yeah, he was very supportive of a lot of punk back in the day. Yeah. Very cool.
Some movie cameos.
Yeah. Also showed up on some things too. They mention him by name in Airheads, and then he has a cameo in Airheads a little later on. Yeah.
He said, what did he say? I was editor of the school newspaper.
Yeah, I was the editor of the school newspaper. That's what he says. I wonder if that's true. So I was thinking, y'all, because as we are dropping this episode, Moonbeam is going to be packing her bags and heading to the Grindhouse, where she's right now.
I was like, what?
Brandon and I are going to be packing our bags and heading to Birmingham, Alabama for the Alabama Comic-Con. Brandon's going to be slinging merch and being the house announcer all weekend. I'm going to be on the main stage all weekend. It's going to be a good time. Sometimes people think when I talk to them and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm the MC on the main stage. And they're like, oh, you're the guy making all the announcements. I'm like, no, that's Brandon.
Just tell him and get some heat off of me.
Maybe so.
I'd be saying some dumb shit.
But we've got some guests coming. We got George Newbern, the voice of Superman, the voice of Sephiroth. We got Jason Douglas coming. He's in Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super, prominently. He's in Borderlands as a voice actor. We got Clifford Chapin coming from My Hero Academia. We got Kristen McGuire coming as well, very prominent anime voice actor there too. I mean, some amazing people we have coming in that world. And it really got me thinking about cartoons.
Yeah.
And it really got me thinking about weird cartoons. And I shot y'all a little message here earlier asking if you wanted to. I didn't give you any prompts other than this. I was like, y'all want to talk about weird cartoons tonight? And y'all were like, yeah. We always want to talk about weird cartoons. And
at all times.
What I want to do is try to break this down real quick if we can into a few different categories. I want to talk about weird cartoons for kids. I want to talk about weird cartoons for adults. And I want to talk about things that are unintentionally weird. I don't know if anyone has any that came to mind immediately, but I can start if y'all want me to start.
Please do, yeah.
Okay, so I've got one for kids here. When we're talking about weird cartoons for kids, the one that really pops up for me in my head is Cow and Chicken.
Oh, for sure.
Which was just an odd movie, right? You have Cow, who's a cow, who is also a superhero named Super Cow, who suddenly speaks Spanish all of a sudden. You have her brother, Chicken, who's just a chicken.
Yeah.
And then you have their parents, who are evidently human, but you only see them from the waist down, which is kind of a common trope for cartoons, I guess, in that era. And when you look back at it, it's so strange because it's like that show debuted on Cartoon Network in 1997.
Did it really?
And that was such a weird era, I think, in cartoons in general. And then you had, of course, the ever-present red guy, right? He was just called the red guy.
And he had his ass out.
Yes, he had his ass out. He was a
like all these characters had their asses out.
He was some sort of manifestation of the devil or some sort of demon. They never really explain it. He didn't wear pants. He had a very ample derriere. He had a tail.
Yeah.
And every time he showed up, he would introduce himself under a different name. And I remember even one time he called himself Mr. 9 Lederhosen. Yeah, it was always some kind of weird, like, no pants pun kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's a show that I will always remember, I think, is Cow and Chicken. And it's weird because a lot of those shows like that were so odd, like Cow and Chicken and Two Stupid Dogs.
And I Am Weasel.
Yeah, I Am Weasel. They are not available for streaming anywhere. Like, you can buy them, but...
Which is why this podcast officially says piracy is your friend.
There you go.
Sail the seven seas.
It's true because, like, HBO or Max or whatever is supposed to have all the Cartoon Network shows, but they don't have a lot of those. A lot of the really extra weird ones. Probably by design.
Yeah, it probably has something to do with them purging of their animated shows like 2 years ago because they didn't want to pay royalties, and they also wanted to make the company seem more profitable to shareholders. So
yeah,
they gave the middle finger to a whole lot of people, and people still give them money.
Also, yeah, sometimes I think too, it's like, yeah, that show's really odd. We don't really need that anywhere near all the other stuff. If we're getting rid of things, let's get rid of that.
Yeah.
When it comes to adult cartoons that are weird, it's kind of harder because I think that a lot of the more odd cartoons aimed at adults are intentionally weird, and sometimes it doesn't really come across. It comes across as forced, right?
Yeah.
And a little cringy, and there's a few.
I feel like a lot of kids animated shows these days, like, they're intentionally bizarre. Like, they don't really strike me as intriguing these days because they are intentionally bizarre.
Yeah.
They have a lot of strange lore that they can talk about online, and it's just kind of it's not as intriguing as a devil with his ass out.
Well, that's probably what it was. They looked at those old shows and they're like, yeah, there's a formula here that worked. But then you do get things like Gravity Falls, which is pretty good. So I do appreciate that. But y'all introduced me to that one. It was a good time. Now there was one that I'm thinking of that is odd. That debuted in 2004 on Comedy Central, and it was a show called Drawn Together. Have y'all seen this? Do you remember this?
So not only do I remember it, but like there was like a moment in college where like I hated every single class. I found out like late in the semester I hated every single class that I was taking, and as opposed to studying for my finals, I just binge watch Drawn Together.
There you go. That's how you do it. Just binge watch Drawn Together.
When you should be studying for your finals in classes that you're barely passing.
I'm sure it's out there. Moonbeam, do you remember Drawn Together? Have you seen?
I remember it. Now I don't remember any episodes in general. Like I mean, like specifically.
Yeah.
But I remember that show.
Well, Drawn Together. So what it was a parody of a reality show like The Real World, where you have all these characters living in a house together, but all the cartoon characters are like cartoon archetypes. So you have a superhero. You have a Pokemon type character in there. You have a princess. They're all just like hyperbole of whatever. And I guarantee you, there's a cartoon pig in there as well, like a Porky Pig type character. There's a black and white Betty Boop type character in there too. I guarantee you the show. Oh yeah, no, and I guarantee you the show has not aged well at all. I can promise you right now. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched an episode, but I can promise you right now, if you watched the first episode today, you'd go, "Ooh, that's rough." But for whatever reason, that's a show that I can't seem to forget either. Is Drawn Together. And so I do have another one here that I want to bring up, one that's unintentionally weird. And this is a show that debuted in, I'm looking at it right now just to verify, 1983. And ran for 3 seasons and ran until 1985. It had like a half season at the end.
An adult animated show?
It was not. It was actually made for kids.
Okay.
It's a giant shark that walked around.
It was, no, this is Jabberjaw. No, this is, I'm talking about Mr. T.
Oh.
The cartoon show. And now when I tell you Mr. T had a cartoon show in the 80s, you're probably thinking like, oh, it was probably something like the A-Team, right? Some kind of action show, some kind of G.I. Joe type show, some kind of thing where he shows up and he shoots like a laser rifle and he beats up bad guys or whatever. No, not the plot of the show at all. Mr. T is the coach of a traveling gymnastics team.
Yeah.
And there are way too many characters in the show. Way too many characters. And they travel around. And do you know what the main objective they have in the show is? Do you think what's the maybe they're just trying to do their best and like win gymnastics meets and win championships and beat like the evil team from, Russia or whatever? No, they're not.
No?
They solve mysteries. That's what they do every single episode. They travel around and they solve mysteries. So Mr. T is solving mysteries with the gymnastics team. And Adult Swim ended up parodying this as well. Do you remember Mike Tyson Mysteries?
Oh, absolutely.
That was a parody of this show.
Oh,
that's
my God.
why they did that. Yes. So those are my 3 picks for kids weird, adults weird, and one that's unintentionally weird. And honestly, the show itself probably wasn't that weird. Just the general premise of the show was weird. All right, what are we thinking here? What is the who wants to go next? Who has some thoughts?
So please remind me, what was the third criteria?
Something unintentionally weird. If you can't come up with one, that's fine. I mean, we're not,
yeah.
This isn't for a grade or anything.
Yeah. Moonbeam, you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
Sure.
Cartoons. And I don't watch a ton of cartoons, but I never really have. But my daughters.
Yeah, Justin Briner knows you don't watch cartoons.
Yeah, I almost brought that back up at how that was the first thing I said to him and Jamie Markey in my car as I was picking them up. I was like, "You guys are in the cartoon? I don't watch much cartoons." Anyway,
Yeah, I don't like that bullshit.
I'll never
that y'all
sleep
do.
again. Yeah, I'll never sleep again thinking about that. Anyway, so Neil watches that show, Steven Universe.
Oh yeah.
I guess it's intentionally weird,
Yeah.
but it is
Yeah.
hella weird. Like, I mean, I don't really know what the premise is, but I think he's like half human, half Jim.
Yes.
Uh, and all his friends are Jims, and he eats a lot of fried food. I guess his dad works at a French fry shop.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just what I gathered.
It's
There's a guy.
no, that's a solid one. I like Steven Universe a lot. It's like it's like a sort of like cosmic adventure superhero, kind of sometimes slice of life. You know, it's like
there's really
what's that?
Really good music in it. There's really good music and really good songs, and like Nim has watched them, and just after it's been over, she's just bawling her eyes out. So she has been touched by the show. So you know, but it's just it's effing weird to me, you know, watching them. Just like, good Lord, why's that kid got something sparkly in his belly button? He keeps showing off. Like, why is he young now and old now? And when did he start singing like that? And why does he eat so much French fry little particles? And
yeah, he likes the fry, not the fries, the fry bits, the things that are left over at the bottom of the fries. Yeah. No, I watched that one all the way through with my daughter, and that show is really good. I do recommend Steven Universe. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, it is a weird show. Yeah.
You remember
good pull.
You remember Powerpuff Girls? There was a guy that was a lot like the guy with his ass out, called Him.
Him, yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I think the general concept was that he had a name, but like it was like, you know, Voldemort, like you can't say it, so they just called him Him.
Yeah.
He's just like some sort of a monkey devil with a tutu on. I can't really remember.
No, you're mixing him up with Mojo Jojo, I think.
Oh, am I?
Yeah. But he had like
I think it might be
lobster claws for hands.
Yeah, he had lobster claws for hands and a little tutu. But I just remember it was red, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the dude was red, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't watch a whole lot of cartoons or anime.
A lot of devil characters.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you could just throw us out a Beavis and Butthead or something like that.
I did that. But I will say this here. I will say this. And this show is very weird, but it's also really good. But I'll tell you, when Nimmy was little, she would lay in bed with me and say, "Hey, tell me a story," and I would always just tell her an episode of SpongeBob. And
that's
she
clever.
always, So I did watch a lot of SpongeBob, which I thought it's a weird show. Characters are weird, but it's good.
It is good. It's worth a laugh. Yeah.
It's got some good episodes. I'm worthless in this.
That's okay. I feel like we grabbed the wrong topic for you then. Brandon, do you have do you have a thought? Do you have something you want to?
I'm not that good at podcasting.
Yeah. No. Look, listen. Listen. You told the jet ski story. That's worth enough. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm just along for the ride. You guys just dragging my ass along.
So you've only been up since 4 o'clock this morning. It's all good.
4:40.
4:40. And get it right. Brandon, do you have any thoughts? Do you have anything you want to share with us?
So I think my example is going to be less weird and more jarring. I think my theme is going to be jarring.
I like that.
For my kids category, I would have to say, rather than just one example, a great number of examples from the 90s and early 2000s Fox Kids programming block. So many shows, which for those who are not already privy, Fox is a network known for pulling shows the moment that they're not big blockbusters, both critically and viewer wise.
Yes.
But in addition, every animated series on that block, if they weren't selling mucho toys, it also got the axe. So you had this like block of like, and it would be about, you know, it would go about 3 or 4 months, and like you would get these really intense shows that just, they were, it was the late 90s, so I mean it was the style at the time to be more edgy and dark, and there was death, and like, you know, shows, rather than being episodic, they had some, they were still episodic, but they had some continuity. I mean, but you had like, you know, characters that, you know, they either got maimed or killed, and like you had a lot of shows, like I had to look it up because, well, I do remember it. Like there were just there were so many shows that were so intense, but only had one season, like Spider-Man Unlimited, and this is a show that no one but me and the French will remember. But Cyber 6, not Cyber Sex, but you know, Cyber 6.
Right.
There were so many like dark, brooding, very intriguing shows for a child under 10 at 8 a.m. Just eyes glued to the TV. And then after 2 or 3 months, they were gone.
Yeah.
And there was no internet. So you couldn't, or I mean, there was the internet, but like, you know, it was dial up and whatever. So there was no like going to, you know, your, you know, Fox News online community to be like, hey, what the hell happened to this show? It was just like these dark, brooding shows that really left an impression on you, and they just disappeared. And it was really weird to not have that continue, despite the fact that it was this really gripping. See, I don't know. I would say that would have to be my, you know, unintentionally weird kid shows, because once again, they required a lot of commitment, and then if they didn't sell toys, there was no follow-up.
Yeah.
For my adult cartoon weirdness, once again, I'm gonna go with a theme of jarring, and it's this series, and by extension, it's kind of a big chunk of this genre. But the Tenchi Muyo movies are just such a big departure from the series, which, I mean, the original OVA series, which I think was only 6 or 7 or 8 episodes, it had its various very serious moments, but it was kind of like the progenitor of like harem anime. So you had a whole lot of, you know, guy being like, oh, I don't know about this situation, and the girls argue and they have a cat fight. It wasn't like what it became like a decade later. It wasn't like, oh, dude trips and he falls down and he honks a titty. It wasn't a whole lot of that. But you know, it was a whole lot of like wacky gender dynamics based hijinks. It was great. It was fun. It was one of the first anime that I've ever watched, and it has shaped my anime watching to this day. But the films, and like anime as a whole, like does this. If there's a series and it has a film, the film is going to be a lot more serious than the series. And my God, did they really do that with Tenchi Muyo? So the first film, the titular character Tenchi, he goes back in time to prevent his mother's death, who he's never met his mother. It's this just very bittersweet, dark, kind of gloomy sort of movie. It's very emotional. Second film, real weird. It's tone doesn't match. It's weird. Has a lot of strange elements. Tenchi has a daughter apparently, and she shows up. It's weird. Not as dark as the other two, but still. The third film, oh my God, Tenchi just disappears one day. He's in a parallel universe. He's living with he's an art student. And he's living with his lover in an apartment, and the friends that he leaves behind are devastated. Like they play it straight up, like they play it as if a loved one has disappeared from their lives. There's a whole lot of crying. It is very glum. It is very depressing. I got this movie whenever I was like 10, thinking like, all right, here we go.
Time for some laughs.
Oh my God. it's very, it's not, there are no laughs to be had in this movie.
This is a fun
like
cartoon. It's called Watership Down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But and then like by extension, a lot of anime films, like I said, are like that. Like it'll be a comedic series, and then you watch the film, and it's emotionally devastating, and you don't expect it. Like it's so weird that the way that they do that. So anywho, that's my like adult pick, and I say that as someone who originally saw those whenever he was like 11 and 12. But yeah. um for my like general unintentional weirdness, and a lot of this just has to do with the way that children's media does not always tend to age well. In fact, like as far as like our perception of it, in fact, it's usually like we look back on it and we're like, oh my god, we showed kids this. I would say that a lot of the Sesame Street shorts from the 70s, animated or otherwise,
Mm.
are surreal nightmares. And I don't know how like they're just so strange. And like this is like it's so weird that the Wicked Witch episode was like this lost media for ages, because I mean, like looking back on it, it's like, okay, yeah, it's a witch. Which, you know, you look back on those shorts and it's just like darkness, and then it's hard to describe a lot of those old shorts, but they they almost rival like David Lynch's like animated shorts that he made prior to Eraserhead. They're very peculiar, and I didn't learn a thing other than life is treacherous on occasion.
I think there are certain mediums that were intended for children that it took them a while to get right before they were not creepy. There are several things, you know, you talk about things like in the world of animatronics and you know, the way various theme parks and whatnot use them, and also the way they were used in movies and TV. Very unsettling. Certain types of animation as well. Yeah, that is very much the thing. No, when you mentioned the whole thing about going back in time and saving his mom, it made me think of an animated movie. It's a Justice League movie, Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox, which is
that was another series that was everything was very dire, and like you know, death was a constant foreboding presence.
Yeah, it's
Everything was very serious.
It steps outside of the normal superhero realm there, but yeah, it's sort of like a situation where it's like the timeline's all messed up all of a sudden for some reason, and nobody notices it, but somehow the Flash notices it, and he realizes, he's like, wait, I did something wrong somewhere, and he has to remember what happened. So that's a good one, though, worth checking out for sure. I like that. Brandon, whenever you brought up the Fox Kids block, I thought you were going to talk about Eek the Cat.
Eek the Cat, I do remember, but like that had like several seasons.
Yeah, it had 5 seasons. Yeah.
Same thing with like Fox Kids had a knack, and they only did this twice, but I would still call it a knack for giving comedians that, I guess one of them wasn't as blue, but like Howie Mandel. People forget that he was a very blue comedian.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow Howie Mandel had a kids show, as did Louis Anderson.
Yeah, Bobby's World was the Howie Mandel show.
Yeah.
And it was about like a 5-year-old kid, and he did the voice. And then Louis Anderson had what? Life with Louie, was it? Is that
Life with Louie, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, like you said, he was not the most... I wouldn't say Louis Anderson was the dirtiest comedian at the time, but he was not at all. He wasn't incredibly straight-laced, though, either.
But let me tell you, Howie Mandel, oh my, like, I remember like being, I think 11 or 12 years old and seeing a Howie Mandel stand-up show from around the time that Bobby's World was airing, and he was like saying like really, really profane stuff in the Bobby voice, like as a gag. And I hate whenever people like use the use the phrase or like, the sentiment of like, oh, my childhood died that day. Like, oh, right in the childhood. Oh,
Right.
I hate that shit.
I do
but
too.
like that day, I was like, oh, that hurts a little bit. That's weird. That feels weird.
And that, folks, was Brandon's 18th birthday, the day he officially
Yep.
became an adult.
Yep.
I was there on his 18th birthday. And then we were watching Bobby's World.
We know we were not watching Bobby's World.
That's good.
We were watching Requiem for a Dream.
Okay.
We were watching Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, speaking of just uplifting media out there, we're watching Requiem for a Dream. So that's a movie, man. When someone tells me, oh, my favorite movie is Requiem for a Dream, that tells me everything I need to know about them, I feel like. I don't need to know anything else.
Yeah. I was.
It's a good flick.
It's a really good movie.
It's your favorite?
It's not my favorite.
Right.
No,
that's what I'm saying. No, it's not quite what I'm getting at there.
That is not a ideal date night movie.
But no,
you don't want to watch that with your daddy.
Could you imagine?
Man, like whenever
how many people do you think
age,
were like, oh, we're gonna go to the theater and watch this movie? It's my first date with someone, and I'm gonna go check out this new movie everyone's talking about.
I don't even remember it coming to the theater.
I don't think it did.
Showing up on DVD.
Did it? No, it had to have at some point.
It was.
I'm sure it was limited release. They didn't play it in.
Oh no! I don't think it was like a widely promoted movie that came out in every single auditorium across America. No. But
yeah, like that movie got an NC-17, and then they were just like, "Hey, we're not gonna have."
It might have been. You know what it might have been? It might have been more of a film festival release. Yeah. Rather than like a limited release or whatever. Then again, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Humble Fam, let me know if you know what happened with Requiem for a Dream and how it was. No, it has a box office take. It took in $7.4 million on a budget of $4.5 million. So
that's not bad.
No, it made money. They did okay. Yeah.
Well, whenever you factor in the marketing and you do the Hollywood,
the Hollywood math,
it lost $50 million.
Sure. Yeah. So, Humble Fam, I do want to know, everybody out there, though, if you're watching, if you're listening, there, I want to know what is the weirdest cartoon you can think of. I want to know, something that was maybe a kid's show, something that was not a kid's show, something that you think wasn't supposed to be weird but came off as weird. Talk to us about cartoons. I want to know what the weirdest cartoon within reason. Because talk to us about cartoons.
There are a good many, like you could say, like, oh, Fritz the cat, or something like that.
Sure.
Just within reason, and don't let it be that like claymation thing from that Mark Twain movie that everybody's seen on YouTube. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's claymation, and like there's the devil face, and he has the mask. I'll link it after this. But within reason, and don't factor in any sort of like alternative theories. Like, oh, it was this animated show was purgatory the whole time. Huh? It's like, no, it's not. It was a kids show. They didn't want this to be purgatory.
Yeah, people ascribe a lot of weird headcanon to kid shows that I guarantee you the premise was a lot more shallow than what you want it to be.
Yeah, but like about a decade or so ago, there was just like this big, like everybody was doing a creepypasta of like, oh, Dexter's Lab was purgatory. Oh, yeah.
Well, Brandon dropped his microphone, but he said Dexter's Lab was purgatory was the theory. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it myself.
Look, I didn't watch it.
Brandon, we're going to cover.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I didn't watch a ton of cartoons, but like when I was little, there was a cartoon about a little unicorn that he was just a little cute little unicorn, and he was just going around saving the day, and he goes like to this hell place, and
was it
he's
Unico?
like, oh, it's Unico. Yeah. I was about to say, like, I looked for it for years and years and years and years and years, and then I finally found it. I bought it on DVD. Unico.
Yeah.
Take his horn off, and ended up going. There's this little devil, and ends up saving her life because he gives her the horn, and then he turns into a Pegasus, and then there's this like black metal anime looking prince guy, vampire that lives in a castle, and just it's like I guess it's like a few stories in one. And I remember like just being real confused by that.
I think I might have seen a little bit of this.
Yeah. I have it on DVD if you want.
Yeah, that's a good pull. Yeah, I would never have like thought to mention Unico in this conversation, but yeah, that was
coming in clutch.
Coming in clutch. If you find it on DVD, y'all pick it up. It's worth. Was it worth rewatching? Because I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I think so.
Much about it today.
I enjoyed it. It's got a little. Okay. It's got. I haven't rewatched it in several years, but I got it.
Yeah,
I will.
Cool. I like it. Unico, y'all. Check it out. Listen, y'all. I don't have any trivia this week because, I've been busy getting ready for the show and also getting ready for Grindhouse trivia this weekend, which will have been last weekend by the time this drops. So, but that's okay because we are heavy on time anyway, so it's fine.
Hey, look, I got a little trivia question.
Oh, yeah?
Who's the coolest damn host in podcasting?
That would be Uncle Bob sitting.
No, that's gonna be you.
Grant.
That's gonna be Grant.
Yeah. Well, I will. I won't encourage the praise, but I will accept it. Okay.
Look, you can't argue with the trivia.
Yeah, that's right. Also, I'm getting ready for the trivia at the Grindhouse that we're gonna do this weekend too. So
I'll be there.
That's
it'll be so much fun. Brandon's like, I'm gonna win again.
I was pleasantly surprised when I looked out at the crowd and saw Brandon there through the Zoom chat at the very end. I didn't see him until the end. So, anyway, that's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, that will have been over and done with by the time y'all hear this. So don't worry about that. Be on the lookout for it next time, I guess. But also, Brandon and I are going to try and report from Alabama Comic-Con for our next episode. We're going to sit down on the Kiz Ouch on the stage and just let y'all know what's going on out there. So y'all, if you don't want to miss that, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And why don't you go ahead and give us a like and a drop us a comment as well. And follow us on the socials at Humbl Show out there too. We would love to see y'all out there. We'd love to talk to y'all out there. We'll be back here next week for another visit here on the Humbl Show. But until then, stay humble.